For the past 8 years, I have been quietly building a stockpile that cost me less than what most people spend on a single Costco panic run. And here is what I have learned. While everyone is buying the same freeze-dried meals and rice buckets they saw on some prepper blog, I'm stocking items that will outlive both of us and cost about as much as a cheap pizza. Number 9 is sitting at your local Asian grocery right now for under $4, and I promise you it will still be fully stocked when the fancy prepper stores are completely cleaned out. The problem is that when everyone reads the same blogs and buys the same stuff, that is exactly what disappears first. Back in early 2020, I watched every bag of rice and every can of beans get cleared from my local Walmart in less than 4 hours. But the items I'm about to show you, still sitting there the next day, fully stocked. And if you are not subscribed yet, do that now, because I share stuff like this every single week that will save you money and keep your family fed when things go sideways. Let me start with number 1, and this one is going to surprise you. White sugar. Before you roll your eyes and think I'm just stating the obvious, let me explain why this is absolute gold and why almost nobody actually stockpiles it properly. Sugar does not go bad, ever. I'm not talking about it lasting a few years. I'm talking about longer than you or I will be alive. The USDA does not even require an expiration date on pure white sugar because in the right storage it is chemically stable forever. I opened a bag last month that I sealed in a food-grade bucket 7 years ago, poured out perfectly. It tasted exactly the same. Here is what nobody talks about. Sugar is not just for coffee and baking. It is a critical survival tool. Your brain runs on glucose. When you are under stress, rationing food, or doing heavy physical work during a crisis, your body burns through glucose faster than you can replace it with normal meals. 2 tablespoons of sugar in water is an instant energy source that can stop you from passing out or making catastrophic decisions when your blood sugar crashes. I learned this the hard way during a winter power outage 3 years ago. No heat, no way to cook anything complex. I was trying to clear snow for 6 hours straight and nearly collapsed. Mixed sugar into some cold water, and within 15 minutes I could think clearly again. Beyond that, sugar is a preserving agent. You can make jams that last years. You can cure meats. You can barter with it because everyone wants it, but almost nobody stocks enough of it. A 10-pound bag costs about $6 at any grocery store. Meanwhile, preppers are spending $40 on energy gels and protein bars that expire in 2 years and taste like sweetened cardboard. And here's the kicker. When shortages hit, sugar stays on the shelves longer than rice or beans because the average person does not think of it as a survival food. They think of it as a luxury. That is your advantage. Look, grocery prices are rising faster than most people can keep up with, and shortages are not some future possibility anymore. They are happening right now in cycles. I have done the math for you and put together a free emergency pantry blueprint that lists the exact items you need, where to buy them, and how much to stock. It can feed your family for 3 weeks and cost less than a single car tank of gas. You can grab it for free at the link in the description so you can stop panicking every time the news mentions supply chain issues and start actually being prepared. Number 2 is salt. And I do not mean that little canister you keep next to your stove. I mean bulk salt, stored properly, in quantities that would make your neighbors think you are insane. Salt is another item that never expires. It has been sitting in the earth for millions of years. It is not going to go bad in your closet. But here is the insight most people miss. Salt is not just for flavor. It is one of the oldest preservation methods in human history, and your body will shut down without it. You lose salt every time you sweat, every time you cry, every time you go to the bathroom. If you are eating a bland emergency diet of rice and beans with no variety, you're going to be losing sodium faster than you are replacing it. Low sodium leads to confusion, muscle cramps, and eventually your heart stops working correctly. I keep 25 pounds of salt in my pantry at all times. Cost me $11 total. I bought it 3 years ago and it is still perfect. During a summer heat wave 2 years ago when our air conditioning died for 5 days, I was drinking salt water every few hours. Not because it tasted good, because I could feel the cramps starting in my legs and I knew what that meant. You can also use salt to preserve vegetables, cure fish, disinfect wounds in a pinch, and even trade it. Historically, salt was so valuable that Roman soldiers were paid in it. Yeah, that is where the word salary comes from. When crisis hits, people will figure that out again real fast. A 25-pound bag costs about $10 at any farm supply store or bulk retailer. The fancy prepper salt packets, $15 for 2 pounds. Do the math. And during shortages, nobody is fighting over bulk salt because it is boring and people do not understand how essential it is until it is too late. Number 3 is going to sound weird, but stay with me. Bouillon cubes. These little flavor bombs are shelved stable for decades if kept dry, and they solve one of the biggest problems nobody talks about in food storage: food monotony. When you are eating plain rice and beans for the 4th day in a row, your brain starts to shut down. You get decision fatigue. You stop caring. Boring food makes you stupid when you need to be smart. Bouillon cubes turn plain rice into something your brain recognizes as an actual meal. They add salt, fat, and flavor in one tiny package. I've got cubes in my pantry right now that are 4 years old. Still perfect. I opened one last week and made rice with it. Tasted identical to a fresh box. Here's the real trick. Bouillon cubes are concentrated nutrition. One cube has enough sodium and fat to make an entire pot of rice or beans taste like real food. Your body needs fat, not wants. Needs. Fat is how your body absorbs vitamins. It is how your brain functions. A cube dissolved in hot water is also a drinkable broth that can keep you warm and fed when you do not have the energy to cook anything complex. During a power outage last winter, I lived off rice and bouillon for 9 days. I didn't get bored. I didn't lose my mind. I stayed functional. A jar of 100 cubes costs about $4 at any grocery store. Preppers are spending $60 on freeze-dried soup packets that serve the same purpose but expire in 5 years. Bouillon cubes last longer than your mortgage. And when panic buyers are clearing out the canned soup aisle, the bouillon section is always untouched because most people have never even thought about it. Number 4 is one nobody mentions, and it is absolutely genius: soy sauce. Specifically, the naturally brewed kind in the big bottles. Soy sauce has so much salt in it that it is basically self-preserving. I have a bottle in my pantry that is 6 years old, still tastes perfect. Soy sauce does 3 things that make it a survival staple. First, it is a flavor enhancer that makes bland food edible. Second, it is a salt source. 1 tablespoon has over 1,000 milligrams of sodium. Third, it contains protein. Real fermented soy sauce is made from soybeans and wheat, which means it has amino acids your body needs. Here is what happened last year. I ran a test. I ate nothing but white rice and soy sauce for 5 days to see if I could stay mentally sharp. I did not feel great, but I did not crash either. My brain stayed clear, my energy stayed stable. It was boring, but it worked. You can buy a massive bottle of soy sauce for about $3 at any Asian grocery store. The small bottles at regular supermarkets are overpriced. Go to H Mart or 99 Ranch. Stock up, and here is why it survives shortages. Most preppers have never even thought about it. It is not on any prepper list. Yeah, but it's not marketed as survival food. That means when the trucks stop coming and the freeze-dried companies sell out, soy sauce will still be sitting on the shelf because nobody realizes what it actually is: liquid salt and protein that never goes bad. Number 5 is vinegar. White distilled vinegar. This stuff is basically immortal. The acidity is so high that nothing can grow in it. I have vinegar in my storage that is 8 years old. Still clear, still strong, smells exactly the same. Vinegar is one of those items that does 10 jobs, which makes it worth every inch of shelf space. You can preserve vegetables with it. Pickling is just vinegar, salt, and thyme. You can disinfect surfaces. You can clean wounds if you have nothing else. You can mix it with water and use it as a disinfectant for your hands or your counters. And I used vinegar to pickle cucumbers and onions during a summer when our fridge died, and we had no way to keep vegetables fresh. Those jars lasted 6 months and tasted incredible. You can also use vinegar to kill bacteria on food, wash produce, and even soothe bug bites or sunburns in a pinch. A gallon of white vinegar costs about $3 at any grocery store. Preppers spend $30 on disinfectant wipes that dry out and become useless in a year. Vinegar sits quietly in your closet for decades and does the same job better. And during shortages, vinegar stays in stock because people think of it as a cleaning product, not a survival essential. That is exactly why you want it. Number 6 is honey. Real honey. Not the fake corn syrup stuff in the bear-shaped bottles, but actual pure honey. Yan honey is the only food on Earth that archaeologists have found in ancient tombs that is still edible. They have pulled honey out of Egyptian pyramids that is 3,000 years old, and it is still perfectly safe to eat. Honey never expires because it is too acidic and too low in moisture for bacteria to survive. I have honey in my pantry from 5 years ago, still perfect. Here is what makes honey incredible. It is pure energy. It is almost entirely glucose and fructose, which your body can use immediately. It is also antibacterial. You can put honey directly on a wound, and it will help prevent infection. During a camping trip 2 years ago, I sliced my hand open on a rock. No first aid kit. I packed the cut with honey and wrapped it in clean cloth. It healed without infection. You can also use honey to soothe sore throats, calm coughs, and sweeten food without needing sugar. A pound of raw honey costs about $8 at a farmer's market or health food store. The cheap stuff at the supermarket is often cut with syrup and will not last as long, but even that is stable for years. And here's the thing. When people panic buy, they grab sugar, they grab canned fruit, but they skip honey because it is expensive per ounce and they do not realize it is actually medicine. That is your edge. Number 7 is one I wish I'd figured out years earlier. Dried seaweed, specifically nori sheets or waka emu flakes. I know this sounds like vegan hippie food. Hear me out. Seaweed is one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, and it lasts indefinitely if kept dry. I have nori in my cabinet from 3 years ago. Still crispy, still tastes like the ocean. Yeah, here's the insight nobody talks about. Just one sheet of nori contains more iodine than most people get in an entire week. Iodine is essential for your thyroid, which controls your metabolism, your energy, and your ability to think clearly. If you are eating a crisis diet of rice and beans with no vegetables, you're going to become iodine deficient within weeks. That leads to brain fog, exhaustion, and eventually your thyroid shuts down. Seaweed also has iron, calcium, magnesium, and vitamin B12, which is almost impossible to get from plant foods. I add a sheet of nori to my rice every time I cook. I crumble wakame into soups. It adds a salty umami flavor that makes cheap food taste expensive. A bag of 50 nori sheets costs about $5 at any Asian grocery. Oh, meanwhile, preppers are spending $80 on multivitamin pills that expire in 3 years. Seaweed gives you the same nutrients, lasts forever, and actually tastes good. And when shortages hit, seaweed stays fully stocked because 90% of Americans have never bought it in their lives. Number 8 is one of the most underrated staples in existence. Dried lentils. Lentils are cheap, they last decades in proper storage, and they are one of the only plant foods that give you complete protein when combined with rice. I have lentils in sealed buckets that are 6 years old. I opened one last month. They cooked up perfectly. Here is what makes lentils better than beans. They cook faster. You do not need to soak them overnight. You can go from dry lentils to edible food in 30 minutes with nothing but water and heat. During a power outage, that matters. When you're running on a camp stove or a fire and you need to conserve fuel, lentils save you time and energy. They are also packed with fiber, iron, and folate. A 1-pound bag costs about $2 at any grocery store. A 25-pound bag from a bulk retailer runs about $18. That is 75 servings of protein. Preppers are paying $5 per serving for freeze-dried meals that taste like sadness. Lentils taste like actual food, cost almost nothing, and last longer than your car loan. And here's the shortage advantage. Lentils get overlooked. When panic sets in, people buy beans and rice because that is what every prepper blog says. Lentils sit quietly on the shelf, ignored, waiting for someone smart enough to grab them. Number 9 is the one I teased earlier. Miso paste. This is the secret weapon sitting at your local Asian grocery for under $4 that will change the way you think about food storage. Miso is fermented soybean paste, and because it is fermented and salted, it lasts for years in the fridge and even longer in the freezer. I have miso paste that is 3 years old, still tastes incredible. Here is why miso is a survival game changer. It is a probiotic. Fermented foods contain live bacteria that keep your gut healthy, and your gut controls your immune system. If you are eating nothing but rice and canned food during a crisis, your digestion is going to fall apart. Miso keeps your gut working. 1 spoonful dissolved in hot water makes an instant soup that is salty, savory, and deeply satisfying. It has protein, vitamins, and enzymes that your body can actually use. During a week-long power outage, I lived off miso soup and rice. My digestion stayed normal. My energy stayed stable. I didn't get sick. A tub of miso paste costs about $4 and contains enough for 50 servings. Preppers are buying probiotic pills for $30 a bottle that expire in 2 years. Miso is food and medicine in one package. It tastes amazing, and it will outlast almost everything else in your pantry. And the best part? When shortages happen, miso stays in stock because most Americans have no idea what it is or how to use it. Number 10 is ghee, clarified butter. Ghee is butter with all the milk solids removed, which means it does not need refrigeration, and it lasts for years at room temperature. I have ghee in my pantry from 4 years ago. Still smells buttery, still tastes rich. Here's what makes ghee essential. Fat is survival. Your body cannot absorb vitamins A, D, E, or K without fat. Your brain is 60% fat. Your hormones are made from fat. If you are eating a low-fat crisis diet, you are going to fall apart mentally and physically. Ghee gives you concentrated calories and fat in a shelf-stable form. 1 tablespoon has over 100 calories. When food is scarce, calories are everything. I cook rice in ghee. I fry eggs in it. I even eat it straight off the spoon when I need fast energy. A jar of ghee costs about $10 and contains enough fat to last a month. Preppers are buying freeze-dried butter powder for $25 that tastes like chemicals and expires in 10 years. Ghee tastes like real butter, lasts indefinitely, and actually nourishes your body. And during shortages? Ghee is ignored because most people do not even know it exists. Number 11 is nutritional yeast. Before you click away thinking this is vegan hippie nonsense, hear me out. Nutritional yeast is deactivated yeast that is grown specifically to be eaten. It is loaded with B vitamins, protein, and it tastes like cheese. I have a bag in my pantry from 2 years ago. Still fresh, still tastes incredible. Here is the genius of nutritional yeast. It is one of the only plant-based sources of B12, which you need for energy, brain function, and red blood cell production. If you are rationing meat or eating a limited diet, you will become B12 deficient fast. That leads to exhaustion, depression, and nerve damage. 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast stirred into rice or soup gives you a full day's worth of B12 plus a cheesy flavor that makes bland food actually enjoyable. I add it to everything: popcorn, pasta, rice, beans. It turns boring staples into something my brain recognizes as comfort food. A 1-pound bag costs about $8 at any health food store or bulk section. It lasts for years in a sealed container. Preppers are spending $50 on B12 pills. Nutritional yeast does the same job, tastes better, and nobody fights over it during shortages because they have never heard of it. Number 12 is baking soda. This is another one of those items that does 20 jobs and costs almost nothing. Baking soda is chemically stable. It does not go bad. I have boxes in my storage from 6 years ago. Still works perfectly. You can use baking soda to leaven bread without yeast. You can brush your teeth with it. You can use it as deodorant. You can neutralize stomach acid. You can clean surfaces. You can put out grease fires. During a stomach flu last year, I could not keep anything down. I mixed a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda into water and sipped it slowly. It stopped the nausea within 20 minutes. You can also add baking soda to beans while they cook to reduce gas, which matters when you are eating beans every single day and your digestion is already under stress. A box of baking soda costs $1. A case of 24 boxes costs about $15. Preppers are buying antacid tablets for $12 that expire in 3 years. Baking soda does the same thing, plus 19 other jobs, and it lasts forever. And during shortages, baking soda is always in stock because people think of it as a baking ingredient, not a survival multi-tool. Number 13 is the final one, and it is my personal favorite: dried mushrooms, specifically shiitake or porcini. Dried mushrooms last indefinitely if kept dry and sealed. I have mushrooms from 5 years ago. I rehydrated some last week, tasted earthy and rich and perfect. Here is what makes dried mushrooms a survival treasure. They have umami, that deep savory flavor that makes your brain light up and say, this is real food. When you are eating plain rice for the 6th day in a row, umami is what keeps you sane. Dried mushrooms also have vitamin D, which most people are already deficient in and which becomes almost impossible to get during a crisis if you are stuck indoors. Vitamin D controls your immune system and your mood. Yet without it, you get sick easier and you get depressed faster. A handful of dried mushrooms rehydrated in hot water makes a broth that tastes like something you would pay for at a restaurant. You can add them to rice, soup, or beans. They turn a 3-ingredient meal into something that feels like actual cooking. A bag of dried shiitake costs about $6 at an Asian grocery. Drop a comment and tell me which one of these you are stocking up on first. I want to know if you are team miso or team mushrooms. And next week, I'm revealing the 7 items that every prepper swears by, but are actually completely useless when things fall apart. You do not want to miss that. So here's what I want you to understand before you go and build your pantry. This is not about being paranoid or living in fear. This is about being smart with your money and taking control of your own food security. The people who are prepared are not anxious. They are actually calmer. They sleep better at night because they know that no matter what happens with supply chains or prices or panic buying, their family is going to eat. That peace of mind is worth more than anything you can buy. I built my stockpile over 8 years, not 8 weeks. Whilst I was not rushing out and spending thousands of dollars at once, I was buying an extra bag of lentils here, a jar of ghee there, a bottle of soy sauce whenever I went to the Asian market anyway. It added up slowly. It added up cheaply. And now I have a pantry that could feed my family for months without ever stepping foot in a grocery store. The second thing I want you to understand is that this is about real food, not survival fantasy. I'm not storing things I would never eat in normal times. I eat bouillon cubes in regular life. I cook with ghee regularly. I add seaweed to my rice when everything is fine. That means my stockpile is actually rotating. I use things and replace them. The oldest items get used first. Nothing ever gets so old that it goes to waste. This is living, not hoarding. The third thing is that knowledge matters more than stuff. Knowing that miso has probiotics and that your gut controls your immune system changes how you think about food storage. Knowing that salt is not just seasoning, but a critical nutrient that your body loses every single day changes what you prioritize. Knowing that sugar can literally save your life when your blood sugar crashes during stress changes what you stock. The items are just the vehicle. Understanding why they matter is the real power. I also want to address something I see happen all the time. People get overwhelmed. They think they have to buy everything at once. They think their pantry needs to be perfect immediately. Then they get discouraged and they buy nothing. That is the trap. Start with one item. Buy an extra bag of lentils this week. Buy salt next week. And buy honey the week after. In 4 months, you will have most of what you need and you will barely have noticed the money coming out of your budget. That is how you win this game. One more thing before you go. The items I shared with you today are not some secret prepper knowledge that I discovered in a bunker somewhere. These are foods that humans have been relying on for thousands of years. Sugar, salt, vinegar, honey. These are the foods that built civilizations, the foods that got people through wars and famines and winters with no electricity. You're not doing anything radical. You're just remembering what your great-grandparents already knew. And that is actually the most powerful part of this. You're not betting on some futuristic technology or some weird survival hack. Thus, you're betting on foods that have already proven they work across centuries. The world is unpredictable. Prices are going up. Supply chains are fragile. But you do not have to be at the mercy of any of that. You can take control. You can be smart. You can be prepared. And honestly, that feels incredible. Thank you so much for watching. If this video helped you understand food storage differently, please hit that like button and leave a comment. Tell me what you're going to stock first. Tell me if this changed how you think about your pantry. And if you have not subscribed yet, do that right now because I post videos like this every single week that save you money and help you take back control of your family's food security. I will see you in the next